President Trump says he plans to announce tariffs on all pharmaceutical imports without giving specific timing. He says this will give companies an incentive to move operations to the U.S., but companies are raising concerns about the difficulty in setting up manufacturing here. The U.S. is the biggest market by sales for big pharma companies. So here with more on the impact these types of tariffs could have if enacted, we have John Woods with Insurance Navigators. John, thank you for joining me this morning.
Certainly.
So just about everybody uses some form of medication.
Right.
Could you talk to me about how much of those medications come from countries outside the U.S.?
That's a really good point. Most of the major manufacturers or drug company headquarters are in the U.S., but the manufacturing is all over the world. Ireland, Switzerland, Singapore, India. We get about half of our generics from India. So we've, like the rest of industry in this country, we've farmed it out to other countries. So it's definitely a concern. And
politicians or prescription drug prices are something that politicians have promised or worked to bring down. What would these tariffs do to those prices that we pay at the pharmacy? Do you think we would see a dramatic price hike? Would this affect everyone?
Well, yeah, it would be across the board from what they've said. I think they also tend to say some things with the intent of getting others to act. But if it comes to pass, it would be a big impact. One of the things that's a personal I'll call it irritant of what I do, being a health insurance guy, is just the cost of pharmaceuticals in the United States is basically twice anywhere else in the world. Wow. Yet they're headquartered here. You know, generic drugs in Canada on average are 70% cheaper than they are in the U.S. Why is that?
So that makes that. Why is that?
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation, Sydney. That'll take a half hour, so we'll skip over that. We'll just talk about the impact of if these tariffs actually hit.
So not everybody's on the same insurance either. So would this
True.
affect other insurances differently? Maybe some of them will have lower hikes than others?
That's a really good question, because historically, most of the drug insurance is based on a flat amount. You know, a generic is $3, $10, whatever. Your name brand drug could be 25 or 40 or something like that. But there's been a trend in the last few years, especially in Medicare plans this year, to go to a percentage of the cost for name brand drugs. So if you're responsible for 20 or 25% of the cost of your name brand drug, and it doubles, it goes up 15%, whatever the amount is, you're going to pay a lot more money.
Oh my gosh. Is there a chance that people, or you know what, what kind of situation would the insurance companies end up in then, like the companies themselves, instead of like the consumer, like if these tariffs are enacted? We just had the situation with Cigna and Mercy not long ago at all. We just barely got out of the woods with that one. Now what could we be looking at, you know?
Yeah, so it's going to vary by the type of health insurance you have. If you're on a commercial policy or an individual policy, that increase in cost is going to get passed on to us directly. There's no doubt about that. But in 2025, Medicare enacted a rule that we as consumers, if you're on Medicare, would pay no more than $2,000 out of pocket. So the insurance companies would have to absorb that increase. And that would not be a good thing, because the changes they would make in their 2026 plans would be dramatic.
God. So if these tariffs should go into place and we do see an impact on prices, what can we do about it? Is there anything we can do, or are we just sitting ducks here, John?
Well, you're not a sitting duck. I always recommend being proactive. First thing, and actually this goes back to my own personal bias, I think the crowning achievement would be if we could all in this country come together and lower the cost of prescription drugs across the board. That's not likely to happen quickly. So what do you do as the individual consumer? Talk to your pharmacist, talk to your doctor. Is there a generic, if you're on a name brand, that could work as well or just about as well? Unfortunately, I'm going to tell you, to shop pharmacies, there are a lot of in-house programs that most of the pharmacy companies have, and they don't really advertise them, I guess you'd say. Like, I take a pill for blood pressure that I actually pay cash for. I don't use my insurance because it's cheaper. Things like that. There's GoodRx, which is an online app, or download it to your phone to tell you about the cash prices from comparing pharmacies. Then online, there's a couple of pharmacies now. Mark Cuban stood up a thing called TrueCost, which has some very good pricing. Amazon got into the prescription business, for Pete's sake. So you just have to be very proactive and really, be your own best advocate is what you have to do.
Sounds like a lot of options out there then.
Yeah, there are.
There's no reason to really panic if you're smart about it and are proactive.
I would agree.
All right. Well, thank you so much, John, for giving us your insight. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.